Welcome to another meeting of the Lorain County Commissioners, broadcast exclusively on your Lorain County Community College education station. The Lorain County Commissioners cordially invite you to see the meetings live and in person every Thursday morning. The meetings are located in the Lorain County Administration Building, located at 226 Middle Avenue in downtown Elyria. The meetings start at 9:30 a.m. on most weeks. Now, enjoy the meeting.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, see, that's why you have the top on, right? I need a sippy cup. Morning, everybody. Henry Ford once said, whether you think that you can or that you can't, you are usually right. So, Roxanne, you may.
Okay, under resolutions.
Start.
Need a motion to approve the Job and Family Services bills for payment.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Investments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
There are no advances this morning. Requisitions.
So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Travel expenses.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Approving bills for payment.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Need to authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary for employees within the jurisdiction of the Lorain County Commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
There was only two on there, wasn't there?
That I saw. Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
I'd like to authorize the Lorain County Solid Waste Management District to cooperate with the county engineer to perform a litter pickup program as in past years. This program was very successful in the years 2000 and 2001. The transportation van will be supplied by the county engineer. Cost for this program will be the same as last season at $14,000 to be allocated from solid waste district funds to be applied towards labor and maintenance costs of the litter crew. This program will be operated from mid-June to mid-August and would entail the employment of 6 to 8 persons, including 1 qualified supervisor.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd authorize the return of $1,768.36 as an overpayment from the Department of Job and Family Services to the Lorain County Prosecutor's Office. The Department of Job and Family Services has received a completed audit for services provided by the Prosecutor's Office for the Child Support Enforcement Agency. During 2001 contract year, the Child Support Enforcement Agency paid the Prosecutor's Office $381,000 based on units of service. However, the prosecutor's expenses were $378,320.67. This resulted in an overpayment of $2,679.33, payable at 66%, which is $1,768.36. This check should be made payable to Lorain County Child Support Enforcement Agency.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
A resolution providing for the issuance and sale of notes in the aggregate principal amount of $2 million in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying costs of making permanent improvement to roads, highways, and bridges within the county. This is a renewal of an existing note.
Okay, please let the journal entry reflect that this will be paid from the MVGT tax funds. And I'll move.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
To authorize the renewal of contract between the Board of Commissioners and Colonial Life and Accident Insurance Company. The renewal is for a 2-year period effective April 1st, 2002, expiring March 31st, 2004. This is at no cost to the county. I need to authorize the President to execute on behalf of the Board.
Also move.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd like to accept proposal received from 1888 Comp, Ohio, to serve as the county's managed care organization at no cost to the county. The agreement will be effective July 1st, 2002, expiring June 30th, 2004, with May 2002 being the open enrollment period. Need to authorize the President to execute on behalf of the Board.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd like to authorize the county engineer to proceed with the improvement of guardrail end treatments on 18 county bridges. The engineer has applied for and received approval for this project through the Ohio Department of Transportation at 100% federal funding. The engineer's estimate of cost was $222,186.72. The engineer has chosen to use the local project administration program through which the county will bid and inspect this project. Plans and bid packages will be submitted to ODOT in late March. It will take ODOT and the FHWA 4 to 5 weeks to approve this package and authorize the county to bid. We need to authorize the engineer to proceed with the local project administration procedures and authorize the clerk to receive bids as soon as approval is received from ODOT and FHWA.
So moved.
And second?
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
I'd like to authorize the following for the Lorain County Solid Waste Management District. The first item will be to allocate $4,000 to Penfield Township to purchase a tow motor for their recycling center. Mr. Billman, the Solid Waste Director, has reviewed and recommends approval for this recycling efforts. The second item, to fund Eaton Township in the amount of $2,933.69 to purchase 4 signs made from recycled materials from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Civilian Conservation Corps. Mr. Billman, Solid Waste Director, has reviewed this proposal and indicated that it meets the guidelines of the Buy Recycled program in the Solid Waste Plan.
So moved.
Township clerk. I'll second.
Discussion?
Yes. Dan, on A, the Penfield Township should purchase of the, what are they calling it here? The tow motor? Is that a titled vehicle?
No.
Okay, and will they be sharing that with other entities also?
Dan Billman, Lorain County Solid Waste Director. Good morning, Commissioners. In answer to your question, Joe, this is a dedicated piece of machinery that's utilized in their recycling building. So it's not going to be a shared piece. And it's a used machine. So I don't think it, unlike a new one that would take a lot of abuse, probably this one's not going to be able to withstand, moving about to other districts, other entities.
Okay, and they will cover it with insurance? Is there someone here from
Eleanor's
Penfield?
shaking her head, yes.
Yeah, we have Eleanor
Gannett.
Gannett, the clerk from Penfield, and Ernie Walker from Eaton Township here. Yeah, would you guys want to speak about this, or? No? Sorry. Okay, you don't have.
She probably has nothing to say. I just had a question to assure the county that it will be covered by insurance from Penfield Township, and I wondered if it would be shared with other townships or communities. And I think-
Our operation is a little unique because I think we're the only ones that have actually recycling building, and so I suppose if somebody else wanted to borrow it, they could, but nobody else would use it for recycling the way we do. But the one we've got is from the 60s, and it's nickel and dimed us to death forever. And so we have a chance to get one that's completely redone.
Well, I should commend Penfield Township, by the way, because they have an excellent program going, and it's something that I wish the county would have done years ago. And you guys jumped in and did it. Excellent program.
Well, I'd like to invite you all to our Earth Day on the 22nd. I'll send you an invitation.
Okay.
Thanks.
That's all.
Any questions? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
To authorize the Community Development Department to advertise for a second public hearing to amend their CDBG fiscal year 2000 formula grant. The county will have unspent funds due to one activity that will not be completed and several other activities that have been completed below the budgeted amount due to the competitive bidding process. The county desires to amend its grant agreement to create a new activity, public rehabilitation, and a second hearing must be held. We'll do this on Thursday, April 11th, 2002 at 10:30 a.m. I'd like to publish the notice in the Chronicle Telegram and Morning Journal on March 28th and April 4th, 2002.
Also move.
I'll second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
I'd like to approve Mary Lugolsky, Director from the Department of Job and Family Services, to enter into contract with CGI Management Consultants Incorporated to provide software and professional services for document imaging services. The software will be under State Purchasing Term Schedule number 533319-0, which expires June 30th of 2003. Professional services are in the amount of $151,000. The computer software, the vendor is Psionics, and that is in the amount of $128,167. I need to authorize the President to execute on behalf of the Board.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes. Joe, do you know, I guess you have to come up to the podium. Good morning.
Good morning, Joe.
Joe DiTilio, Lorain County Department of Job and Family Services.
Joe, it looks to me like this is some equipment. Has this been approved by the data board?
There is no equipment in this proposal.
There isn't any?
The professional services will be coming in and identifying what hardware we're going to purchase. At that point, we'll go to the data board, and then we'll be back with the commissioners here.
Okay, because the commissioners hired a computer, what's his title? Director
Information Technology.
Information Technology, and we're hoping to have all purchases come through this, our department, and have them review it and make suggestions to the commissioners. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
That'd be fine. Once again, once the consultants come in here and identify what hardware, then we could approach that person and also the data board.
Commissioner, I did have him look over this contract, though.
They did look it over?
Yes. Before it came to the board, I had them review it and take a look at it. And as Mr. DiTilio indicated, once we start needing equipment, we'll be having that reviewed again.
Okay, did you go out for quotes?
No, this is through state purchasing.
Although, you know, sometimes, even though we go through state purchasing, I sometimes feel we have this local preference that if there isn't local people, if we were to put this out and in advertising or whatever, maybe local people could bid on it or give quotes, and they might even be as low as the state purchasing or even lower if we were to do that.
It would be very difficult for us to write a bid for this, for somebody to bid on, and doing it through state purchasing, we avoid a lot of that. And plus, the company we're dealing with, myself and several of our administrators went to Cuyahoga County. Mm-hmm. This CGI has this program up and running in Cuyahoga County, which, as you know, is a very large county. And coming into Lorain County, we're going to be able to utilize a lot of the expertise and everything that they have already done in Cuyahoga County,
Okay,
which is why the advantage of going with the company.
We also, this is following on the heels of something we did through the Record Center, right? With a
Correct.
And we did work with our Record Center on this, and we used the company we used there to.
And we hope to continue to work with the Record Center also.
Right. So there's a lot of linkage here with things we're currently doing and this issue.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Okay.
Any more discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Okay, reports, comments, Mr. Cordez, Administrator?
I need to request another amendment to a resolution for the Workforce Development Agency. Resolution 2-59, which approved contracts between the Board of Lorain County Commissioners and various agencies, did not include a beginning and end date. And I've been requested to amend the resolution to include the beginning dates of January 28, 2002 and the ending dates of June 30, 2002. As with the amendment last week on another issue, this does not change, modify in any way the resolution. It's a housekeeping measure that's needed so that this can be paid by our fiscal agent for the WDA funds.
Jim, could this have been put on the agenda?
I just got this issue. It was clipped to the one we did last week, and Teresa just walked over and said she was doing the resolutions, and that was clipped to it, and I missed it last week. That's why I gave. If you want to put it on for next week, that's fine. We're just waiting to get those contracts paid.
It's a housekeeping matter. It should have been addressed. The information was provided. It was just overlooked.
Yes.
Okay, well, here's all the resolutions that we voted on, A through D, right? What was missing?
The dates.
Just the dates, the ending and start date.
The ending and start dates? Which is what?
It's on
January
the cover letter.
28th
28th through June?
30th, 2002.
Okay. So all we're doing is this right here, right?
We're putting the dates in.
I'm just going to damage up your document a little bit. Is that okay?
Also move.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy? Aye.
Back to Jim or go to Foxy?
Who wants it?
I can go to Roxanne. Since we have a long agenda, I'll hold these items. That's all I've...
Okay.
Long
Assistant County.
agenda. We don't have a long agenda.
I think it's going to end up being long.
Come on, we got a 10:15 with Ron 20. It's 10 to 10.
Commissioners haven't had their
Oh, that's
report
true.
yet.
Okay. Okay, Assistant County Prosecutor, Mr. Ennis.
Well, I'm going to start it, Commissioner. I have 4 issues of pending litigation that I need to discuss with the commissioners in executive session. I don't think they'll be real long, but I do need to get some direction from the commissioners on those issues.
Okay.
And when did you want to do that, Jerry?
Like today?
Yes.
She was
I'm
getting
sorry. In fact, some of them might bear on things we have later on in the agenda, so.
Oh, really? So maybe we could do that after the commissioner's report? Would you prefer to do that?
Okay,
Is that what you're asking?
that'll be fine.
Okay.
Okay. Commissioner's report?
Commissioner Vacy?
Yes, I have several things here. First of all, since the parking issue has been publicized, I've gotten a couple letters from the public, and I would like to share them and ask that Jim look into them. One is a person wrote, and he says, I have been reading about parking problems around the Justice Center. I am an agent for a man that has property in the immediate area. If you could give me a phone call so we could meet and look at the area. And his phone number is on here. So there's copies here for each of you and Jim. I'd like for Jim to look into that one. And there's another one here which is quite lengthy, and they have some suggestions also.
There you go.
Is that the end of your parking?
Those two are on, in regards to parking.
Could I piggyback on that? Would you mind if I interrupted?
I have one more issue in regards to parking,
Okay.
and that's
When
in
you're
regards to the parking deck. A gentleman wrote, and I don't know if either of you got a copy of the letter, but he wrote once before several months ago. He said he visited the tax map department and was shocked by a certain scenario. I wrote to the Board of Commissioners a letter stating my concerns, of which I have attached a copy with this letter. I revisited the tax map department again the week of March the 18th, 2002, and my amazement, there were small piles of rock salt spread on the upper level of your parking structure. I cannot, for the life of me, understand why the team, such as yourselves, would allow such a drastic and costly practice to continue. His last letter was, on a recent trip to your administration building on 12/28/01, I parked in your parking structure. I noticed several men spreading pure salt rock on the top level. As a concrete specialist of 31 years, I have learned the biggest destroyer of concrete structures is rock salt. I informed one of the men about the danger of the salt, and he informed me they used to use another type of ice remover, but hadn't done so for a year or two. On orders of their supervisor, rock salt will not only destroy concrete, but will destroy any protective lining or membrane applied to the deck in a very short time. And I was talking to Roxy yesterday, and she said that she's noticing this white stuff that used to come down before the parking deck was repaired is coming down again. I don't know if it's a result of using rock salt or what, but I would like Jim to look into that issue also.
Lots of copies, right?
Okay. Now, in regards to the parking deck,
may
that's
I-
all I have.
May I interrupt
Yes,
your report?
sure.
I just, because you mentioned parking, I would like to state that yesterday, Terry Good called the Commissioner's office and said that he had 25 parking places that would be available, and I contacted Karen Davis. She went out and looked at them, and they've worked out an agreement, and I think maybe Mr. Cordes wants to piggyback on this because these parking spots are in Barris Lane and 5th Street, so I think that's going to help us with the immediate problem of where we're going to put people, if it's okay.
Thank you, Commissioner. We've had some issues come that we knew we were going to be facing with parking, and one of those was a lot to do with Children's Services, Voices for Children, and the domestic relations juvenile van. These spots will give us the ability to move some employees once again into a different lot and be able to retain some parking for those agencies within the deck because they bring children back and forth very frequently from the building. So I'm going to have some more discussion with some of those departments. I've already spoken with Children's Services this morning. They're agreeable to parking a large group of their employees in this new lot that we're able to obtain to keep most of their vehicles that they need to transport the children here in the deck. So as I indicated last week, we have a lot of negotiations underway. We're looking for property. We're being very fluid with this issue. We're probably going to try the patience of a lot of people, but we're going to keep working on the issue. Next week, I'll have a PO here for you. We're going to solve another part of the parking problem. We're going to buy a couple bike racks for the admin building and the courthouse. Mr. Billman has graciously offered to buy them with solid waste dollars. In looking around for parking, somebody's pointed out, Mr. Nabokowski actually pointed out that we don't even have bike racks here, so we want to encourage people to use other modes of transportation. Maybe we should buy a few bike racks. So Dan's going to be taking care of that. He brought the paperwork over for me.
Is he going to ride his bike, too?
Now he's got a new car.
But it's not a Crown Vic.
Oh, I know.
Thank you.
Okay, I have another issue, and I'm going to try not to sound real angry or excited. And I'm not trying to throw blame on anyone, but I believe that this has to be clarified and that it should never happen again in the future. And that is in regards to requisitions from last week. And I'm going to give you copies of it. And if you'll notice on this first one that I'm giving you, notice where the commissioner's items are on the first page, and they're in the computer. And then if you go to the fourth page, there's typed-in items. Those were additions. And I sincerely believe that those additions were entered after I signed off. And that really concerns me, whether they were or whether they were not. When we're questioning, when we're looking at $100,000, over $100,000 worth of computer purchasing, that is something that everybody in this room knows that I would question. And somehow I missed it. So I personally believe that that was an add-on after I signed off. And it concerns me. Furthermore, there was not even enough funding in the accounts to purchase these items. We just did it today. With the transfers, we just corrected that today. Now, that is some real concern that I think this board has to put some preventative measures in place that this will never happen again.
Didn't you put a line in there now? Didn't you guys
Now
agree?
we're putting a line in there.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's enough, because what I'm going to do, and I know that Betty does, but she couldn't find a copy of this one, makes copies. Well, you can be sure that from here on out, when I put my signature on it, I'm going to be making copies of it. And not only that, but every other department has to send their requisitions up to purchasing by Thursday of the week before our board meeting, the latest by Friday. Why would we have to have an add-on? We should have had sufficient time, or are the commissioners privileged that we can add on any time that we want and the other departments cannot? And the same thing with the agenda. Last night at 5 o'clock, Jim calls me at home. There's a change on the agenda. The public asks for copies of the agenda well in advance, but by the time they get to this meeting, I believe that the agenda's changed 5 times at least. I get 4 or 5 different drafts of an agenda, and that's pretty confusing. I mean, there was a lot of questions, and when was it? Last night or the night before, I think I had 8 people in the office trying to explain all this to me. And, you know, there's another bid over here, a state purchase, $30,105. And my question there would be the same as it was to Mr. DiTilio. Here's a state purchase. Could it have been purchased or bid out locally, and a local person have received this bid? And the training, I question that, and you know how I am on training. And here's another one, the internet camera package. Did that go before the data board? No, it didn't. It should have, yes. And the web collection, we talked about hosting web in-house, we talked about hosting email in-house, and here we are going out again. Now, Ernie and Karen gave me good explanations of this, but I am going to bring this up so that it does not happen in the future, so that these explanations can be made before we vote on the issues. And I also believe that there should be a long-range plan for computers. We are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on computers and equipments and consultants and internet and email and everything else that comes along with them, and new technology that comes up. We should have a long-range plan when it comes to the computers. Now, I've mentioned that before, and I am going to mention it again and again until we get something in place.
Okay. Jim, on the agenda issue, can you, because I get 3 or 4 too, and I'm wondering which one we're going to be working off of. And it seems like you've corrected the issue, I think, regarding getting me a copy. Sounds like Commissioner Bass.
Excuse me, but that should have been corrected before when we've set a deadline on Roxy receiving these.
That's what I'm trying to get to. So, and you said you didn't want to get wound up. I'm trying to do it calm for you.
Okay, I'm trying to.
I thought we originally planned to have everything completed by Tuesdays. It seems like we keep trying to move it back, because we keep trying to do things.
We were supposed to have it completed by
Monday?
Well, agenda items supposed to be in by, I believe, Rox, was it Friday we had a cutoff?
Friday,
Okay. And then what happens is the agenda gets typed up, a draft is sent to the 3 commissioners for review, and I think that's when we start talking drafts 1, 2, 3, and 4, correct? Is that an appropriate statement?
For the most part, we've...
So when do you stop the 3 commissioners from doing that? What would be the appropriate way as a third party out to keep the 3 of us out of it? What would you recommend as our county administrator to
do what?
To make sure that we get the completed agenda?
It's because Roxanne doesn't get the information in time.
Well, let's just deal with this issue, which is if she has everything by Friday, when can I sign off on the agenda?
Monday.
Monday by
Sometime
2
in the
o'clock?
afternoon. It would take a couple hours to finish it up.
So then
Stuff comes in by COB on Friday.
Okay, can we try to get back on that?
Sure.
Can we give her till Tuesday so that
Well, no,
Monday she has
that's
time
what's
to
going to happen.
prepare?
We'll have, as long as I have it by noon on Tuesday, that's fine.
But
I'm just saying, as long as I have it by noon on Tuesday.
Commissioners, with all due respect, and maybe not individually, but
Collectively.
collectively, you guys are the problem with the agenda.
Well, I know, I'm letting you try to help us with this
Okay.
issue. Well,
Well-
what happens is there's an issue here, and I'm trying to resolve it.
At various times, I get things from the commissioners. They want on, they want off, they want on, they want off, and it makes it
But you should be
hard
able to find out by
formulate-
Tuesday, by noon, on whether it's on or off, correct?
Well, I think we should be able to do that by Monday. I
Okay,
think
I'm
once we-
giving you an extra 24 hours, so if
I
you
don't
could-
want it, because in that extra 24 hours, the issues are going to come up, and people are going to want to change the agenda. I don't
The
want the
president
extra.
of the board should have control of the agenda.
Yes.
That's what I was hoping, but...
Okay?
Yeah, I don't
And
think
by
it's ever,
Tuesday.
excuse me, Commissioner Vacy, I don't think it's been that way in the past.
Well,
I think
if-
that our past procedure that was documented by resolution prior to Commissioner Moore's becoming a commissioner was that in order for an item of significance to be placed on the agenda, two commissioners had to agree about its
Right.
being placed on there. So if you give the control of the agenda to Commissioner Moore, then he
Well, if...
That's what
let
I've
me-
been waiting for. I've been waiting
If you
for
would have
somebody-
let me finish
I'm
here,
sorry, I apologize.
I would have finished, okay?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
But he has control, or the president of the board has control of the agenda. So whatever commissioner, whether it be you or myself, that would want something placed on the agenda, Roxy would go to the president and say, this is what so-and-so would like added or deleted.
Right.
And then she could go to the next person. If it's me, for example, okay, and I want something added or deleted, and I would make the suggestion to Roxy, she would go to Dave, and then also to you, because she's done this in the past. She's always informed me when one of you wanted a change on the agenda.
Well, that
And-
goes right back to what the county administrator said, which is you're dealing with three commissioners and on one
Right.
agenda item, right? Because what we're talking about now is we're still talking about now we're talking about two votes to get something on the agenda,
Well,
which is we're trying to make this so that we don't have to
well,
have
I think
this.
we're making a lot out of something that's not.
Right.
And the bottom line is that any commissioner can bring an item under their report.
Right.
If it's not on the agenda, we've allowed each other to have that ability to bring it forward. Doesn't mean we're going to take action on it.
No, we can
So-
always take action or have it put on the agenda for the
following week.
next meeting.
If you want to
And anything could be
do
put
by
on the
12 noon on
agenda.
Tuesday, that's fine, and we'll work towards that, but...
Anything could be put on the agenda because we vote on it out here, and you put
Right.
it on the agenda so that we can discuss it. So no matter who wants something put on the agenda, that's fine.
Well, the issue
Well,
is,
I disagree with that, unless we want to change our past practice.
the issue at hand is that before things were being added to the agenda at the last minute, I prefer to have things done by noon on Tuesdays so that we have at least 48 hours to review what we're going to vote on. That was the whole premise of when we started this last year, which is let's get it done early so that we can have time to research what's on the agenda. And if I would prefer to see it done, I'd prefer to see it done on Mondays, but give you till noon so that we have it by noon. If it's like 1 o'clock on a Tuesday and I don't have it, then I'm calling. I guess that's why I'm saying. As long as I can have a complete agenda before noon. If I have it Monday night, that's fine. Get it to me Monday
All right,
night.
does that include the requisitions and the rest of the information too? By Tuesday? Because by Tuesday, I'm usually signing these.
Okay.
I thought we were just talking about the content of the agenda itself. The paperwork has pretty well been established, and I think it's been flowing pretty
Right.
decently.
Yeah, my concern is just the agenda.
If it was flowing decently, then I wouldn't have this question in regards to the requisitions, Betty, and I think you questioned something on there too,
And I
in
called
regards to
and
the sequence,
I called and I spoke to Melissa, and she explained how it
that it's on
happened.
the front page.
She explained why it was out of order. So I just, the explanation was satisfactory to me, and I didn't feel that was a great question. I asked the question, she responded, so. I think I saw the requisitions before you did that week, and so I didn't see that you had a question on it. And when the item came up for discussion, you didn't raise the issue, so it's never safe to assume anything, but I assumed that you were in agreement with what was there, so
Well-
that's why I didn't question it.
Well, you told me that you wondered why I hadn't questioned it.
Yeah.
So apparently my signature was on there before yours.
No, I'm going to say again, I think I saw the requisitions that week before you did. I think I was the first one to look at them that week.
I'm not going to argue that point.
Well, I mean,
Because you
that's-
did mention to me that you wondered why I hadn't questioned it.
At the meeting itself.
Or made an exception. You said you wondered why I hadn't made an exception or questioned it.
At the meeting was what I meant. I do think that I saw it before you did, and I had my questions, and purchasing answered those questions to my satisfaction when I looked at it.
Is there anything else on your...
Yeah, I do believe one more thing, that purchasing could share the access to the requisitions with Teresa, and that would make her work go faster and the journal entries go a little faster too. If you can share the access, the computer access, would you talk to the computer people about sharing your computer access for the requisitions and information that you have to send up here, the paperwork you send up here could be done through the computer instead of paperwork, and it could go right directly to Teresa so that her work goes faster?
It's not set up like that.
But it could be?
Yeah, for if we hire a company to come in to set that up through NAR.
Through Oracle.
Karen, can that be set up without hiring a company? Please come up here. Is Ernie here?
Yes.
Can't we just have Jim research it for us and get it to us next week?
It's my understanding that at one time...
I want to know from her.
At one time, they were able to give this, the requisition or the layout of all the requisitions and transfers. They used to give it to Teresa on a diskette. If that's possible to give it on a diskette, then there's no reason why they can't put it into a share file or even email it to Teresa. And this way she could put it into the minutes digitally, and then we can eventually put the minutes up on the internet.
Okay.
Right now, as it is, she's getting paper copies of the requisitions. She has to cut and paste and put it on her minutes, and it's not too easy to digitalize it when you do that. It's very time-consuming. So if it would come to her in a digital format, such as a diskette, email, or shared file, she can just put it in there. And if there's concern about changes, Yvonne could set the rights to just read only, and Teresa will be able to put it into her documents.
Okay, thanks.
That's after we've approved it.
Right.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Cortez, could you see what the issue is first? Find out if there is something that we can do, and then get back to us so we don't have to have any more discussion on this right now?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, that's all I have. But,
Yes,
you know,
sir.
I will mention this. When we're up here, we're always rushing our discussions. And I have met commissioners in other counties that their meetings last all day long. They discuss everything that there is to discuss. And they can seem to, you know, get some conversation going about issues and make decisions right now at their meetings, not to just
What?
push it off on someone else, delegate to someone else to go look at it, and maybe it gets done and maybe it doesn't. If we're having an issue right now, we should resolve it, be able to resolve it. This board should be able to resolve it. If our
I don't think
staff
there
needs
is an
to
issue.
look into
I don't
it.
think there is an issue. Right now, the issue is, you just brought it from the floor, and Yvonne's over there looking confused at first. So instead of embarrassing people, I'd rather have Mr. Cortez find out what the issue is, pass a router, see if it can be worked out with the computer department, see if it can be worked out with the purchasing department, and then bring it back to a public
Well, I'm
forum
not
for a
just-
public discussion. But right now, you're bringing it from the floor, and I don't...
I'm not talking about just that.
You're
I'm talking
talking?
about a
Yeah.
lot of issues, just
I
like
know
you're
you
just
are. I
rushing
know
us
you are.
right
I'm
now.
not rushing nothing. I'm just saying, you got people over here sitting uncomfortable because they're being caught off guard. And I'd prefer to have proper information, find out what the issue is, see if it can be done, and then have the IT department come up to us, say, this is what's going to cost. This is what's going to cost to do what you want to do. And then we can have a public discussion on whether or not we need to do that.
Okay,
I mean, that's
so-
all I'm doing is just trying to get a format
I
that's more...
understand that.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to do.
But-
Nothing against anybody. I'm just saying...
Excuse me, but
Okay?
are you, then what are we saying here? That I should
No, I
just
want
go
you- no,
and
no.
ask them to go look into it and then bring it before the board?
Ask ask the county administrator to work with his directors. You have an issue. Work through county commissioner or the county administrator, get the issue, find out what it is, and if you feel like you're unhappy with him, get a router to the three of us saying, this is what the issue is. Bam, 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 bam. I think we can do a better organizational review on what's being done, and I want to do it. And he'll have to get the information for us.
Okay.
I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it?
I did that.
Jim, you're pacing here. You're just rocking.
Okay, I did that with the requisitions, okay? And now I'm bringing it before
let's do
the
one
two of you so that you will understand what's going on. I don't want to be the only one
You're not.
that
I'm just saying
may have this problem.
Okay, we're done with that. Now we're going to talk, you want to talk about the requisitions now?
I'm just telling you, whether it's requisitions or whatever it is,
Right.
do you want me to bring it before the board, or do you want me to bring it before your staff? I mean, I think that the board should be informed as well as I am in regards to any issue. If
Right,
you have,
and we are.
If you have an issue, or if you're going to do something, I would prefer to know about it rather than, like there are issues where I will go out and talk with someone, oh, so-and-so said we are doing this change is being made. Well, that's strange because I don't even know anything about it. And I am a commissioner.
Right.
I believe that we should be informed on every issue, not just, periodically or when something happens, something goes wrong, then we're informed. No, we should be filled in the beginning and bounce it around because three heads are better than one. We all have different views on things.
Well, I agree. But I also believe in delegating authority to your people to let them do their jobs.
But the board should delegate this, not one individual commissioner.
Oh, I agree. I agree with that wholeheartedly. That's why I'm asking if it's okay to have Mr. Cortez work with Yvonne to find out what the issue is and if it can be corrected. Right? And have it done in less than 30 days, right?
And get the computer people involved.
Right. Okay.
And I don't mean
I see
to
lots of nodding
embarrass.
heads. No, I see lots
I
of
don't
nodding
mean to
heads now.
embarrass anyone, but it's a situation that I don't ever want to see come up again. And not even the question of whether or not that was on the agenda before I signed off.
Okay.
There should be no question. Now, Jim is suggesting the line through it. That's fine, because I will even sign off on the line and put a date on it. Thank you, but that's all I had.
Okay. Commissioner Blair?
Thank you, Mr. President. Roxanne Blair, our clerk, has been working on County Government Week, and she has prepared a news release. We're going to be at the Midway Mall on Saturday, April the 6th, and several of the county departments are going to participate. I'd like to thank Roxanne and the staff who've put this together and invite anybody to stop out on that day. And it's a wonderful educational experience for the children, too, and we have some nice prizes that will be given to them. So if you'd like to, the press would like to pick that up. And secondly, I'd like to say that yesterday I attended the dedication of Faith House, which is it's a cooperative effort of the Sisters of Humility Mary Ministry along with the Catholic Action Commission. And it's located on East 31st Street and Vine in Lorain, and it will provide 8 families in transition from homelessness to the ultimate goal of self-sufficiency and permanent housing. And my administrative assistant will have a package of information if anybody wants to make an application or learn more about that. And it's a wonderful new opportunity for those who might need this assistance in Lorain County. National Resource Assistance Council met on March 22nd. We had 5 applications. Some of them needed some clarifying information. So we have allowed for 30 days for the information to be presented to us. And we will meet again on May 3rd at 9 a.m. at the Ag Center to review those applications and to formulate a list to be forwarded to the Ohio Public Works Commission for that $1.7 million that's available in financing to our 3-county district. I did agenda for the Lorain County Community Alliance meeting, which is a week from tomorrow, April 5th at 9 a.m. at the Lorain County Community College. The Ohio Department of Transportation District 3 is going to be there to talk about what's coming in Lorain County for the construction season. We invite anybody who's interested to stop by for this public meeting. And I believe that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have none. And I believe we have a 10:15 hearing.
Mr. Corning's going to give a
Mr.
presentation.
Twining? Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Ron Twining, T-W-I-N-I-N-G, and I'm the Community Development Director. First and foremost, I would like to apologize publicly to the Board of Commissioners, to County Administrator Jim Cordez and Roxanne Blair, Clerk for the Board, because item 17 I added to the agenda yesterday in order to avoid losing $30,000 to the county. I apologize.
I think that's a legitimate reason.
Well,
Did you know about it sooner?
No, I did not.
okay.
Today, I'm here to present the multimodal transportation plan to the Board of Commissioners. We are pleased to do that. This effort started in November of 2001. It involved at least 250 of Lorain County citizens and 51 committee meetings, a total of 150 committee hours during the last 15 months of our existence here in Lorain County. Originally, this was envisioned to be a 12-month process. We did seek and were granted a 3-month extension by the Board of Commissioners, and we appreciate that. The completion date was to be April 2nd, and we are slightly ahead of that. I received it last Tuesday. We transmitted that to the board on Thursday of last week, and I've been asked to present this today, and I will do that in a rather rapid fashion. This is an update of the 1973 thoroughfare plan, which was first conceived, and it was the third of 3 thoroughfare plans for Lorain County. The first one was adopted by Lorain County Board of Commissioners in 1957. Excuse me. In total, we had 7 committees work on this effort. The Roadway Committee and the Bike Path, Pedestrian Path Committee met each 11 times in order to formulate their work and have the public debate. Those were the 2 most active committees. In addition to that, we had an Airport Committee, a Waterport Committee, Transit Committee, Railway Committee, and an Information Technology Committee. They talked about issues specific to their concerns as concerned residents on those issues, but they also talked about the issues and held several joint meetings between 2 or 3 committees at a time to talk about the interrelationships between, say, transit and the airport, or what the Waterport was proposing at the Grove site and the New York Central site. So I think the whole process was a very good, worthwhile program. Obviously, with 150 hours of committee time spent, in addition, months worth of research time and staff time in order to put this document together. We will not be able to go over all of it today. We received the required 10 advance copies. We've dispersed that to Mr. Innes, Mr. Cordez, Roxanne Blair, each of the commissioners, and we have a few copies in our possession in our office. We are in the process of printing up 400 copies for distribution, not only to those that served on the committees, but also for sale at a later date to the residents of Lorain County. The anticipated printing date will probably be May 15th or 14th before that is available to the public. At this point, I am merely asking that the board be aware that this now is completed, is in the printing process, and I'd like to touch briefly on some of the highlights that you can anticipate seeing once you receive a copy of this. The report includes a vision from each of the 7 committees I identified above, and in addition, they have talked about in this written text of the documents, including photographs, background information, charts, maps, and the challenges facing Lorain County for the next 20-year period, and in some cases as far out as 50 years. This information has been chronologized in the document by subject matter. In total, I think there were either 12 or 13 chapters that are to be looked at and reviewed. The final chapter of the report talks about the synergies that are around Lorain County and available to Lorain County. Synergies, as we all know, is a common buzzword these days, and it's showing the work between several political jurisdictions on a common theme or a common efforts. As a part of our county comprehensive land use plan, we talked about the need for intergovernmental relations, communities working better towards certain goals. Some of those that were highlighted certainly are involved in the transportation-related issues, but it also included items such as the Grove site and JEDs that might be created, the economic revitalization and redevelopment of the urbanized areas where the infrastructure occurs in Lorain County, and to move forward on those fronts. That same theme was echoed in the farmland report put out last year, and again you're going to see a specific relationship to the transportation plan in this document, transportation-related issues, on that synergies or common elements. You've already begun to see several communities, cities and villages working towards a common goal. The synergies highlight, and I will only mention 4, I think there were a total of 7 here together. They've identified, or I will talk about the 4 so that you have a tease to look at this document when it is put together. The ones that they thought had been developed or are being currently developed to the greatest extents with more than one political jurisdiction and the county's involvement included the Lorain Grove site, the Elyria, New York Central Depot Station, both of which have been identified by the state of Ohio as very good, worthwhile efforts, and Lorain County is leading the state on those efforts compared to several other counties in this state. Turnpike interchange on State Route 58 was another item that they did identify as a good transportation project and economic development generator. And then the one that we truly lead the 88 counties in the state of Ohio on is identifying the need for information technology as a transportation issue, not only creating the last mile link, but the second wave of technology as it relates to the diversification of industrial base in Lorain County. The other item that I would like to tell the public has been included in this. Each committee, by consensus, identified its own vision for that committee, and they have also identified several challenges that are needing to be addressed so that we can have a process to move forward with transportation-related issues in Lorain County. That will conclude my comments at this point. I think I'm a little ahead of time. I will entertain any questions that you or the public may have at this point. If there are none, we will again remind people that we are in the process. This document, I think, is about, it's being copied front and back. It has photos and maps and charts that are not the easiest to produce on a copier, but Howard Reynolds downstairs is doing a yeoman's job getting prepared to do this with his equipment and staff, and we are very delighted and pleased with that. There are about 160 pages in total, individual pages. We'll end up with about a 70 or an 80-page document when we're all done. So it will take probably another 2 to 3 weeks before that is going to be released. Are there any questions that you may have?
I have no questions. I'd just like to commend Ron and all the people who assisted on this. I love the 150 hours of committee discussions.
Thanks, Ron.
And several of those hours were heated at times, but we came away walking away as friends, so thank you very much.
That's important. Thank you.
Okay. We have a 10:30 public hearing, but do you want to...
Those are part of the issues that I want to...
How much time do you think you're going to need for this?
20 minutes.
20 minutes? And it's going to discuss 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it going to be these 4?
Well, we can, 2 of them we can delay to later, but 2 of them...
Because I think there's some people here probably for the 10:30, I think, so. How about 10 minutes? Is that okay?
Okay.
Is that okay, commissioners? Commissioner White?
I so move
Okay.
that we recess into executive session for the purposes outlined by the assistant prosecutor for 10 minutes.
Yep.
All right.
Mrs. Blair?
Thank you.
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Billable hours, those guys are getting.
Do you have something to add for this?
I wish to advise the commissioners, as you're aware, there have been continuing negotiations going on between the city of Elyria and Elyria Township that would impact upon these annexations. I've contacted all the legal counsel involved, and all of them have indicated that they are willing to continue this one more time to April 25th at 11 a.m. And I would ask the commissioners to make a motion accordingly.
I will so move.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
We may continue.
We'll go back down to old business.
Thank you very much.
Guess we have some old business. There's a few people here for that.
Sorry, the first item, under old business, a proposed annexation of approximately 53 acres in Columbia Township, the city of Strongsville, Ohio. James Coquin is agent for petitioners Riverside Development and CMK Limited.
Okay. This has been a very hot issue for the last 90 days, and I should say for the last 5 years. Since our hearing, I've tried to participate in working with the trustees and both sides, trying to find some form of a consensus so that we could maybe not have an annexation of this property. Basically, I spelled this out in one of our administrative sessions where I felt that the county, although under our hearing, Mr. Carney said that there was no money to do so, but I think if we worked at it, we could find enough money to sewer that property as a county to help support that the developers. But also the trustees needed to work and get the variance changed so that the developer could build the units that he needed, which I believe was 168 or 170. That did not materialize, which means there's no need to discuss what number 3 had to take place, which made that moot. So I feel that this is a township trustees issue that's been going on for 5 years, but it's forcing us to deal with it today. So that's a statement that I will make, and I think it'd be best if Commissioner Blair would review or read some of the information that we're hopefully going to, well, is that the motion? You have a typed up motion. That's all I have to say regarding that. If anybody else would like to make some statements, they're more than welcome to.
Well, if you concluded your remarks, I would like to say I see that 2 of the 3 Columbia Township trustees are in attendance today, and I believe that they are continuing to try to work with Mr. Carney, who is also here today, to resolve some of his issues so that he can, in fact, develop his land to his benefit and to the benefit of Columbia Township and Lorain County. When we held our hearing on January 17th, we concluded the hearing by motion, giving us 90 days in which to make a decision. That 90 days ends, I think, on April the 11th. The issue is before us today because we have a full board, and we may not have a full board in coming meetings. So I would like to move that the annexation request be denied, and I would like to give the following stipulations with this motion. The petition contains all the matter required by Section 709.031 of the Code. The persons whose names are subscribed to the petition are owners of the real estate located in the territory in the petition, and as of the time the petition was filed with the Board of County Commissioners, the number of signatures on the petition constituted a majority of the owners of real estate in the territory proposed to be annexed. The City of Strongsville has complied with Division B of Section 709.031 of the Code. The map is accurate. The notice has been published as required by Section 709.31 of the Code. The territory in the annexation is unreasonably large. The geographic character of the annexation leaves 4 parcels in the township, resulting in a shape creating several peninsulas. These peninsulas create a zigzag effect with adjacent areas being in and out of the city and township. The zigzag shape of the territory will have a detrimental impact upon the territory to be next because it will cause difficulties with coordinating the control of surface water drainage to both homes in and out of the territory. It will result in confusion in the provision of emergency services and hinders the ability of the city to provide such services for the territory. There will be unnecessary duplication in the installation of sanitary sewer lines and water and other utility services when the providers to the township and city areas are different. This has led to disputes and litigation over the appropriate jurisdiction for the provision of services, and this territory appears to be highly susceptible to such disputes and litigation. And the complexities in addressing houses in and out of the township and city will confuse travelers and increase the likelihood of traffic accidents, thus endangering the residents of the territory. And C, although the impact of the annexation upon areas remaining in the township is not a consideration as to the general good of the territory, based on the irregular geographic shape and formation of peninsulas, all of the negative problems described in B impacting upon the territory to be annexed would have a similar negative impact on the remaining portions of the township. Additionally, the general good of the territory to be annexed will not be served for the following reasons. The petitioner states that its objective is to be able to develop the property for residential housing. 2 major advantages were cited for annexing to Strongsville. First, the advantage is accessibility of sewers. Although at the time of commencing the annexation, sewers were not available outside the city, agreements continued during the pendency of the annexation proceedings have now made sewers accessible in the township through the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. Therefore, this reason no longer is valid. Secondly, the petitioner indicates that Strongsville allows greater density than the township, and it would be advantageous for developers to be in the higher density area. In evaluating this factor, the commissioners must speculate upon the happening of certain events. Zoning amendments in the township are currently being considered, which would substantially increase the density propensity for the property subject of the annexation, although there is no assurance that the zoning change will go through. The weight of the evidence before the commissioners is that the zoning will be adopted, and it is not likely to be subject to referendum because the changes have general community support. If annexed to Strongsville, petitioner will have to obtain a rezoning to take advantage of the increased density possibility. Unlike Columbia, there has been a history in Strongsville of strong opposition to the kind of zoning changes which petitioner will need to seek. Therefore, the best evidence available at this time suggests that petitioner will be unable to obtain the ability for more units by annexing to Strongsville. This board faced a similar issue in a recent annexation where a property owner annexed to the city of Elyria to obtain sewer access needed for a commercial business. After the annexation, the property owner could not get the zoning changed to commercial and now wishes to come back into the township. Based on the past experience of this board and upon what appears to be the most likely development regarding zoning changes, it concludes that Columbia Township will offer the type of zoning which will allow the residential housing density closest to what is being sought by the petitioner.
I'll second the motion.
Commissioner, there were a couple typos I just need to mention. At one point, we made reference to Section 709.31. It should be 709.031.
Which was that the notice?
5.
That was the notice under item number 5, 709.031. Thank you.
And under 7.1, we have in there an agreement making sewers available has been made. It should be maybe.
Where's that at?
Under 7.1.
Which should read then, I said, although at the time of commencing the annexation, sewers were not available outside the city. How do you suggest that should
During the
read?
pendency of the annexation proceedings, but agreements making sewers accessible is pending.
So we're just adding is pending in there, Jerry?
I'm sorry?
We are just adding is pending in there.
Right.
Okay. Is that clear?
Is that the only changes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any more discussion?
Yes. Yes. I'd like to thank Dale Rundle for helping me through this. We've kind of went back and forth for about 3 months here on this issue. And a year ago when it came up, I think the commissioners were very helpful in making sure that you guys gave you another year to work on it, so I do appreciate that. But we are creatures of statute and laws. I disagree with this resolution in a couple of areas. Number 6B, where it says it will cause difficulties with coordinated the control of surface water drainage to both homes in and out of the territory. During our hearing, that came up, and they said no, that would not be an issue, that the developer would not have any difficulties with surface water, because that's the biggest complaint we're getting right now, is where all that runoff is coming. So I disagree with that statement. Will result in confusion in providing the provision of emergency services and hinders the ability of the city to provide such services to the territory. I disagree with that statement. I believe that's no, as we heard in our hearing. The Strongsville homes, if this is annexed, would be facing the Lorain County street. None of the homes will be, though, facing towards Lorain or for Strongsville. I'm on the second paragraph right there. There will be unnecessary duplication in the installation of sanitary sewer lines, which I don't understand. I don't believe there'll be any duplications, because right now there is none out there. And I don't understand. I mean, the only thing is that's another issue I think we tried to resolve, and we couldn't. Let's see. Complexities in addressing houses in and out of the township will confuse travelers. I just want to be on the record that I disagree with that statement in the resolution. On the next page, in evaluating this factor, the commissioners must speculate upon the happening of certain events. I believe we're not allowed to assume. I think we all know what happens when you assume. I didn't like the word speculate. This zoning amendments in the townships are currently being considered. That's been 5 years. I don't think anything's going to change. I do commend the township for increasing the density from what it used to be, but I don't think it was sufficient for this issue here. And then on the next one, if annexed to Strongsville, the petitioners will have to obtain a rezoning to take advantage of the increased density possibility. There's no evidence on the record. This development's just a continuation of what this developer's been doing. And then the last one, based on the past experience of this board and upon what appears to be the most likely development regarding zone changes, there's no evidence on the record, and I believe that's not a true statement. What we're looking at is whether or not the Columbia schools will receive $345,000. The county will receive $92,000. They've had that on the record. For making this motion, and there's a second, I don't think that's going to happen now. So I just want to be on the record on why, although as Dale would know, we worked quite hard trying to stop this annexation. I believe that we are creatures of statute, and that I went through section 709.02, and I could not see a reason why not to turn this down. So that's my discussion, and Guess that's it. So if you're ready.
Well, I'm not
Oh,
sure
you're not sure you're
that.
done?
I would just like to comment
Okay.
that I do fully believe that we are creatures of statute, okay? And the statute gives us discretion over the areas of finding that were stipulated, including the general good of the territory sought to be annexed and the unreasonably large portion of it. And those are clearly items that have been established in the court in the past that this board and any other board of commissioners has authority over. And with respect to the dollar issues that you raised, that's not part of the consideration that we should be making at this point in time. That would be my comment.
My concern would be that there's no written agreement from Strongsville that they will accept the sewage in the first place. There's no written agreement in regards to the zoning. So I just don't feel it's going to be in the best interest of the territory sought to be annexed if there's, it's just an iffy thing.
That's all? Any more discussion?
That's all I have.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
No.
Commissioners will have to formalize this document into a written resolution and have it sent to the respective parties.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to thank the parties in attendance, both the developer and the residents from Columbia Township. I realize that this has not been an easy issue for either of the parties, and I would like to encourage you to continue to work with Columbia Township, and the county is here to assist you if we can, so that you could develop your land in Columbia Township.
And our deals are still out there. If you guys can work it out, we hope you can. This was not a hard decision. Or this is a very hard decision, I should say, one of the worst. And I wish you guys could keep working, at least talking together, because the county's here to help. Okay?
I would echo that. I think it's, all the board is in agreement with that, hoping that each entity could work it out and come to some agreement in regards to the zoning, the sewers, the whole issue.
Those two right there, that's it. It's real easy for you guys.
Doing our best.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you coming.
Columbia residents, thank you.
You want to go to the 11 o'clock hearing as well now?
Yeah, I think that's going to be real quick, right?
Sure, we have a comment on that, too.
We have the 11 o'clock hearing. Roxanne, do you have to read it off, or how's that?
I can. I don't, does Mr. Ames have a comment on this as well?
Once again, Commissioner, this is an issue where it's been discussed and all the parties, as with the previous one, have agreed to continue it to April 25th at 11:05.
Mr. Chair, I move that we continue this hearing to April 25th at 11:05.
Support.
Any discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Why 05?
That was the way the clerk stipulated
Oh,
it,
okay.
because she's planning ahead that we're going to resolve these issues so we
Okay.
can...
I just wondered why 05.
Oh,
She's
I didn't hear you say that. I'm sorry.
She's getting fine-tuned at this.
Yeah, she is. About another 2 years, she'll be ready here.
Well, now we have to wait until 11:30 for the other and 12
Yeah, we have other
for the
things
other.
to... Did you call the roll? Yep.
No, she hasn't called the roll yet.
Mrs. On the annexation? Mm-hmm. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Okay.
No.
Back to old business.
Yep.
All right.
Item number 2, to award contract to Bay Mechanical and Electrical Corporation of Lorain, Ohio, in the amount of $106,300 for the Crest Haven wastewater treatment plant project for contract number 3 for the general and electrical. The engineer's estimate of cost was $97,100. This bid is within the 10% limit. The county engineer and K.E. McCartney and Associates have reviewed and recommends approval. This award is contingent upon the Ohio Public Works Commission's approved request to proceed.
Mr. Ennis, I believe you have a comment regarding this?
After review of this from the instant video replay booth,
Super
we decided
slow-mo.
to reverse the call on the field. After talking with the engineer and doing some more consultation with Yvonne Newton, this bid is a little bit different than the typical ones done by the engineers, and after looking at it again, we have concluded that it should have been broken down into the various types of work to be done. It does not appear that any of the bids submitted did that, so it is a recommendation now that all the bids be rejected and that this be rebid.
Okay, so are we going to have new engineering work done? Because this is 2 years old, and I think...
I've discussed with the engineers, and they're going to make a little bit of modification to clarify in their bid advertisements that they need to have these broken down.
The way this was set up, even at 100, they went 10% over because of the increased costs in the last couple of years. So I'm asking, are they going to start from scratch on this now?
Well,
you know?
they'll do new, right, they
Not
may
a new
need to
bid.
consider that.
Based on the engineer study, they said that it's going to be worse. Engineer's estimate's 97.1. So are they going to redo this estimate to increase it?
I would assume, Commissioner, that they're obviously going to have to reevaluate the engineers.
We don't want to go back to assuming, do we? I'm just asking.
I wonder what other word we could use.
There's Mr. Milletti right there.
Mr. Milletti, obviously, you need to update the engineers' estimated cost.
Okay, I'm just asking because I don't think there's, I mean, I think it needs to be increased because it's been two years and costs have gone up. So let's just start from ground zero on this one. Okay. And then everybody will have a fair shake on that one. How's that, Brian?
Well, this just proves that
Okay.
it's good to have the public's input
Yep.
and participation. We, this board, do not know everything, and I profess, first of all, that I am not knowledgeable on every little thing there is, so I really respect the public's input. Thank you, Brian.
So do we have to make a
Oh, yes, we
motion
have
on this
to, yes, so...
A motion to
Mr.
reject.
Chairman, I move that we reject the bids and authorize the re-advertisement
and the new engineer's estimate?
Updating.
and
Okay.
request
Thanks.
an update of the estimate of cost.
Cool. That's all.
Second.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye. Thanks.
Okay.
Is there any other old business?
That's it for old.
New business?
I have none.
I have none.
Any new business?
No. I
None?
was shaking my head, sorry.
Board correspondence?
I move the reading be waived.
Second.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Public comment?
Do you have any public comment? Go ahead, come to the microphone, state your name and city.
Certainly. My name is Kevin Guyman. I'm from Lorain, Ohio. This situation is concerning Lorain County Transit and the location of a bus shelter. A week ago this past Wednesday, I submitted a petition to Commissioner Vacy with 253 signatures on it to relocate a bus shelter over on Griswold Road at the old bus garage. The situation is the bus shelter is unsafe over there where it is. What they're doing is about a month and a half ago, they began to circle the buses, and they have a center area, you know, like they used to circle the covered wagons in the Old West. And everybody knows the safest place to be is in the center of that circle. And originally, according to, this is what Debbie Moore told me herself, First Transit, the service provider, wanted to put the shelter in the middle, but she says, no, I want it over on the west end. Now what happens is people run out from the shelter. When the bus comes to catch the bus, they run in front of the buses. They walk in front of the buses. When they get off the buses, they run into the shelter. Back and forth, back and forth. And with the human error, I'm afraid there is going to be an incident that occurs there, an accident. I worry about the 3-year-old child that runs away from his mother. I have a woman on the bus I talked to who has a hyperactive child who's concerned for him. I'm also concerned about the opportunist, because once you take this thing out of the middle, you have a flaw in the safety system. And that leads to liability, litigation. And I think, you know, all they have to basically prove is the system is flawed. The system has been done before. All the attorney has to find out is where the system is done and where the bus shelter is. If it's always in the middle, they win. And this is a situation that really needs to be addressed and attended to. According to what Debbie Moore has told me, she's afraid a driver might hit it. This last couple of days, we had some of the worst weather in the world. There was one incident where a driver went off the road by himself over on West Erie because of the ice. And that's like, you know, it's an insult to the drivers who work for the company because, I mean, if they hit a bus shelter, they could hit a parked car. And is it better to hit, you know, one of the patrons who comes out of the bus shelter by accident? And this is something that really needs to be brought to your attention because, as far as I'm concerned, this is an accident waiting to happen.
Kevin, you're saying that the shelter is on the west side or in...
It's on the west end of the parking lot there, when it should be located in the middle, where it's surrounded by the buses and protected.
But if it was located in the middle, people would still be running in between the buses, wouldn't they?
Well, no, because the buses would park and surround it, and most of them would be in the shelter. That's where they go now. They go into the shelter, and that's what we're all conditioned to go into a bus shelter. And I remember telling Debbie Moore, I says, you know, why did you put that out there? Because people are going to want to go stand in the shelter. And then she told me a driver might hit it. Which, you know, I'm sorry, I really don't buy that one, because these drivers, you know, are excellent drivers, and as far as I'm concerned, it's an insult to their abilities.
I would suggest that we send our ombudsman out there to view that, maybe for a day or so, and come back with a suggestion.
I think we have a suggestion right here from Kevin. Can we find out whether or not that's feasible? I mean, Jim, could you... I think it sounds like he's a user, right?
Yeah, I've been riding the transit now for 4 years.
Okay.
And the thing is, you know, I talked to Debbie Moore on the phone, and she says, well, we'll put a stop sign out there, and then every time they come to the shelter, they can stop. And I'm thinking, well, why do you want to make an adjustment? Why do you want to fix something if it's already a workable thing? Why do that? And Commissioner Vasey, you told me she called you on the phone and talked to you and told you that, I mean, if she was confident and secure with her position, why would she call you?
Because she was aware of the letter and the petition.
Okay, she was very much aware of this, and
Yeah.
she wouldn't discuss, I mean, she discussed it with me, and she told me, you know, I appreciate your efforts, but that has to stay where it is. And I said, well, there's 253 people who ride the buses who've seen this happen and understand this, and all they want is a safe and reliable system. That's all they're entitled to that.
Okay, because there's no need to have government studies to find out whether this is right or wrong. Could you find out?
I'll speak with...
How long will it take to find out a solution to this issue?
I can have some information for the board by next board meeting.
That's 7 days. Does that get you an answer in 7 days? How's that?
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, it's an accident waiting to happen with human error.
Well, I appreciate you exposing this. You know, really.
Well, my next step is to the media, and I don't want to do that.
You just did that.
Yeah, I know. Well, here we are, folks, and I mean, you know, if you want to gamble, you know, go to Las Vegas, but this isn't really worth it.
No, I know. That's why I think if our county administrator can send the ombudsman out, you can work with...
I just need to point out one thing. We can gather information. Certainly we'll speak with Ms. Moore, but the transit board's a governing board. We can try to exert some influence on them, but the ultimate decision falls to the transit board. Obviously, we'll look into the matter and we'll report back. But I need to make it perfectly clear that the transit board is the board that I think you may want to go see and talk to about this issue.
Right.
Their meeting.
It's hard.
But we can help, though. That's all.
We can, and we will.
You know, all I want to say is, you know, I had the opportunity to serve on mock juries, and let me just tell you, when somebody sues when they're injured, they sue everybody.
Exactly.
Right now, you have an unsafe hazard in the county.
And I wasn't trying to dismiss the problem here, but I would encourage you to also go to the transit board meeting, and we'll assist you. But
You're talking about the Lorain County Transit Board meeting?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, well, she's basically said it's going to stay the way it is, so...
But she doesn't run the transit board.
She's the executive director.
She's general manager.
General manager.
She occupies a position similar to that I do with this board with respect to decisions.
Okay, well, can I get a little backup to go with me?
Well, that's what we just told you. We're giving you a whole bunch of backup.
No, I thought maybe the three of you would like to go to the meeting.
What I'm thinking, though, is, you know, I can visualize this as you're speaking on the issue, but a picture is worth 1,000 words. Maybe if Larry can go out, the ombudsman could go out, take a picture, and write his report on it, what his findings are, that he views it the same way that you do. Then send that from the board to the transit board with a suggestion that the changes be made. And I think that would be more influential on the board than just Kevin going before the board.
Let me bring the information back to the board. Obviously, I don't want to dispute the situation with this gentleman, but there may be some issues that are not presented here.
Well, let's just get all the sides, and we can do it here, and then then you can take all the information to the transit board, and hopefully it'll be resolved before that even happens.
Do you want to wait till you're...
No, I'd rather have this get done quick.
I would tell you, you know, I wish we could all get together on this in the same room and just work it out all at one time. Because again...
And I may be able to facilitate that for you. Let us have a shot at this.
All right.
Sandy, make sure this gentleman gets one of my cards before he leaves, please. Thank you.
So 7 days? Let's try and
I will bring some information back for the next board meeting.
He's going to be on vacation next week.
I thank you for the opportunity to speak about this.
Thank you for your concern
thank you for
and all the work and the effort you put into getting those petitions.
Yeah, my whole thing is, can 253 people be misguided? If they are, there must be a miscommunication. There's a communication problem. There's still a problem with the transit system.
All right.
Because, we all ride the bus and we see this. Debbie Moore hasn't been on a bus in 3 years.
Okay. We don't want to start slamming people, so let's just get it fixed.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, anybody else? Hey, Bob. Sorry about that.
Take a look at these bus pictures right here.
You got bus
How
pictures,
come you
Bob?
got that shirt on? This has palm trees and
It's
stuff.
supposed to be spring.
Oh, okay.
Bob Kish of the Seven Seas. I just crossed one of them, the Pacific. Good morning. The bus system in Honolulu serves 250,000 people per day.
That's all we have in Lorain County, Bob.
I understand that. And this is a good point, because even their emergency system has on it the city of Honolulu and the island of Honolulu. Even though there are other cities, the cities, and we were talking about synergy just a bit ago, work together. And that, I think, would be amazing if this county could work together.
Well, we're trying.
Boy, you need a 4x4. I mean, I just went to a meeting. Well, let's go. Mark Twain said the difference between the right word and the almost right word is the difference between lightning and the lightning bug. I say the difference between the right location, and the wrong location is parking, and more parking. Open space, in and of itself, opens up an area, and I have photos here that depict how some of these future projects in this area should be built. There's a parking space that shows no signs of parking other than the entrance. On top of it is a park, which would be ideal for the exhibit that I saw for the city of Elyria just last week. Instead of open parking with, how would I say, no public access, you have public access and a place to stay and shelter. Throw in security, Elyria Police Station, and the mayor's attempt at urban revitalization with a bid of $750,000, and you have political, not practical results. There was $1.7 million that's available. Over $300,000 wasn't even asked for from the Clean Ohio Conservation Fund. Open space, that's money from Columbus. Acquisition of easements wasn't even mentioned. How nice it would be if they had talked about an easement along the Black River. The land, some of it is available right now. You could get an easement that would be so nice to travel along that west bank of the Black River and connect the park systems together. How nice it would be to travel from Elyria, the old highway, the Indian highway, the river route. Of the 4 requests, 3 were not in compliance, according to the official from Ohio. He said this was for open space and not to buy buildings, and the people were to go ahead and resubmit their appraisals of the land, minus the buildings, not with the buildings. I have often wondered how Oberlin gets grants after committees that other committees drool over. Evidently, when making their request, they follow the rules and do not color outside the lines. Local politicians here should try it. Water does not flow uphill, as one local political entity told me. Cream, however, unless homogenized, will rise to the top. Thanks. Okay, thanks for not receiving the agenda. I don't want 4 copies coming through my copy machine. I'll run out of paper. To be continued next week. Brought to you by the Seven Seas, a nonprofit organization. See you next week. Bye.
Thanks, Bob. Anybody else like to have public comment? You didn't come here to talk to us? Oh, I thought you were here to talk about a mechanic or something. I didn't know that's what you're here for.
No, we missed Cordeo's talk.
Oh, okay. So is that getting finalized? Okay, I just want to make sure I'm on top of it.
While we have him in attendance, I understand you're helping us when we make our parking transition too, with some of your auxiliary police people. I really appreciate that. We expect a lot of confusion when we make that shift, and they've offered to bring a couple of the auxiliary people to direct traffic on the parking shift. So I want to thank you very much for that.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else? Oh, serve and protect. Any other public comment? Seeing none.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we return to executive session for the outstanding items that the Assistant Prosecutor has outlined to us.
Okay, I'll second.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
I was trying to get it.